Ho, ho, ho. I'm quoting somebody. Who is that who I'm quoting? Oh, yeah, that guy, Santa Claus. I'm Brian Rademacher, and I am the sales guy for Northern California for AMA Waterways. We are a river cruise company based in Southern California. I'm coming to you from Sonoma County, Petaluma to be exact, and it is our pleasure to welcome you to our webinar this evening, our armchair travel event, of which these days, that's the way a lot of us are finding our way out there to travel, is through these virtual events. And then we look forward, as we see these virtual events, to the opportunity to actually reserve something down the road. And today's down the road is next Christmas. We're here in the holiday season this year, but today we're going to be talking about next year, 2021. And I think we can all say, at least I can certainly say, I'm looking forward to saying goodbye to 2020. So quite frankly, and hello 2021. And what we're going to be, as I say, presenting this evening will hopefully whet your appetite as it relates to something we do that's really kind of unique. And I'm very grateful to Lori, who you see there. You want to say hi, Lori, while I take a sip of wine?
All right, good evening and happy holidays, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this holiday cruise experience. One of my favorite things to do is take a holiday cruise on AMA Waterways. So I'm glad I can share this with you.
Terrific. And I'll be totally transparent. Have you been on one, Lori?
I've been on a couple.
That's right, because you have the mugs. You just showed me the mugs, the glue line mugs.
I have some fun mugs to share with everybody.
Yes, those are fun looking mugs. So I will be, again, totally transparent to say that this was the year I was to do a Christmas markets cruise.
No.
Yes. So I am particularly interested in what I'm presenting tonight for next Christmas, because I think if all goes well, knock wood and all that, then next Christmas, yes, knock wood, exactly, knock wood, then I'll be out doing a Christmas markets cruise. And we're going to talk about a departure actually this evening that Lori has for next year as well. That is going to be rather neat to talk about. I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, two housekeeping items. One is there's a question box there for you, and you can just type in your questions. Usually best to type them in when you think of them, when they're top of mind, because you might forget them later on, at least I would. So that's one. Two, this is being actually recorded, which is nice. So then I'll send it to Lori, the link, and then she'll send it out. You can share it with friends, family, colleagues, whomever you think might be interested in this unique topic about Christmas market cruises in Europe. Okay, so that is the housekeeping. And I think without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And look at Lori's backdrop there. Her gosh, that is beautiful. Wow, how nice. Mine is my office in Petaluma, not nearly as nice. And I'm working from my home. So we have a new puppy, a 19-week-old puppy downstairs. So hopefully she'll mind her P's and Q's and not bark, but we'll see. That's debatable. Okay, let's dive in. AMA Waterways Holiday Cruise Experience, and let's go. So there are your hosts for this evening. That's me, Photoshopped from about 3.5 years ago when I started with AMA. And of course, the lovely Lori McDonald, who owns Cruise Planners and is truly an expert in all things travel, certainly related also to AMA Waterways, which she sells a lot of. And we're very grateful because you know what, AMA Waterways, we don't really advertise. We're kind of, I guess you could say, somewhat the best kept secret in river cruising, because we don't really advertise. And so what do? We rely on our partnership with our travel advisors like Lori, and then they present the product to you all, which again, we're very, very grateful. So thank you to Lori. And this is actually a series of webinars we've been doing. So once again, thank you in so many different languages there. And then this is always an image we put up because it is so evocative and it is so true. Many of you may have been on an ocean cruise, may not have done a river cruise yet, but nonetheless, oceans obviously take you to countries where rivers take you through them. And the Rhine and the Danube, certainly the most iconic river names, certainly in Europe, similar to like the Mississippi or the Columbia here. These were the roads of old, and they're still roads to this day, although The roads commonly, certainly for commercial traffic, but also river cruises, right, which have become incredibly popular over time now, really one of the hottest things in travel. And so these towns and villages and cities, frankly, emanated from the rivers, and they established their commerce with each other along the rivers because, as I say, they were the roads of old, and again, to this day, are still that way. So really interesting picture and truth in the statement. I won't read the bullet points to you as far as the value of a river cruise. Again, if you've been on a river cruise, some of these things will jump out to you as what you most like about river cruising. And if you've not been on a river cruise, again, all of these things are part and parcel of the experience. These days, in our current environment, the word intimate, we've always used that, but the word intimate people seem to like because it goes along with smaller ships and less guests, right? No crowds, no long lines, always in the center of town. That kind of thing. So those are issues, or not issues, but salient points, I should say, that seem to, again, in this environment, what we're in with the pandemic and all, resonate even more so pre or post COVID, now that we're in COVID, than they did beforehand, because people like the fact that the ships are smaller and more intimate. That's something that just comes with the territory. And then why us? These are, again, not things I'm going to read to you. You can kind of peruse these and look at them at your leisure. We are indeed family owned. I'll talk a little bit more about that here momentarily, with an innovative fleet, certainly. These two I'll mention quickly because, again, it's something that's on people's minds of late, which is this level of hygiene and cleanliness, right? Well, candidly, ladies and gentlemen, it's always something we've done. It's been a major focus for ours. But now we just talk about it more, right? Because people want to know, and rightfully so. So we do practice that highest level of hygiene and cleanliness, and we now say we do, right? And then the financial stability. And the reason we bring that up is because over the last, 9-10 months, the travel sector, industry, et cetera, has obviously been heavily impacted by the pandemic. And so you then sometimes think about the stability of a certain company that you might want to travel with. Well, our financial stability is fantastic in couple of reasons. One, all of our ships are paid for, including 3 new ships that are coming next year. We pay as we go, and it's our prudent European ownership. Our owners are European, they live in Southern California, but we'll talk more about them. But anyway, no debt. That is a good place to be in the travel sector these days, to have 0 debt, not owing any creditors. Plus, even though we're majority family owned, we have some minority silent partners who, if I mention their names, you'd say, oh my gosh, I've heard of them. And so they have skin in the game too, albeit they're not the majority owner. We're family owned, as they say, but it's nice to have their interest in our product surviving as well. So we're in very good financial shape. So these are our owners. They're all European heritage, if you will. Rudy, Austrian from Vienna. He's the acknowledged godfather of North American river cruisings for a whole bunch of reasons, which I won't get into, but believe me when I tell you, he is the godfather of North American river cruising without equivocation, both officially and anecdotally. He likes to say, I build them and she fills them. She being Christine Karst, she of German, actually East German, because she was born and raised in Dresden, then East Germany. And she's really, to me, the heart and soul of the company, certainly. And Gary Murphy, raconteur, his dad, Mr. Murphy, Jimmy Murphy, Irish roots. And Mr. Murphy threw his lot in with Rudy and Christine back in 2002 when we started. Mr. Murphy passed away about 4 years ago. His son, Gary, has taken up in his place as co-owner and senior VP of sales. And so what I like to say about them, number one, they're wonderful people. Their EQ level, the emotional quotient level, as far as any company I've ever worked for, they are off the charts. Fantastic people. 2, they're very passionate about what it is we do. We're only a river cruise company. That's all we focus on. So we're not in disparate areas of the travel sector, just river cruising. And so again, as I say, very, very passionate. And 3, very prudent. And I say prudent because what I mentioned earlier is they pay as they go. In terms of the ships being paid for in advance, in cash, so that we have 0 debt. That is a nice thing to be able to say. That's our world, and we like to say discover our world one river at a time. So we're primarily, as you can see, all throughout Europe. We're also in Egypt on the Nile. which we start next September. And then we're on the Mekong in Vietnam and Cambodia, and here in Southern Africa on the Chobe River between Namibia and Botswana, these obviously being exotic. But as they say, primarily here in Europe do we go. And then I'm going to show you now a little video, bear with me, that's going to whet your appetite for the Christmas markets. So let's take a look at that. Hang on, here we go. All right, so that looks rather enticing indeed. All right, so that is Christine Karst. And you know, when you think about obviously going at Christmas market times, and especially this year when, I don't know, we may not be able to get together with extended family as we have in the past. Obviously, family time comes into play for sure. That's her mom. That's her daughter, Isabel, who just got married actually up in Mendocino and lives over the hill from me here in Sonoma. And her husband's actually an ice. Yes.
I don't think we can see your screen yet.
Okay, let me try that again. Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. Good.
There we go. Perfect.
I just got my driver's license. I say that every time, and then I sometimes I'm successful and sometimes not, but I rely on Lori to get me back in the lane. So thank you, Lori, for that. You heard me saying, and now you see the picture. This is Christine Karst, again, one of our owners, and she's enjoying the Glühwein, the white variety, because a lot of times you hear about the red variety, and that's her mom, still lives in Dresden. And Christine actually just went to visit her parents last month. That was interesting to hear about the travel experience on Lufthansa. Her daughter, Isabel, again, lives over in Sonoma, and her nephew. But again, I was saying that family time obviously is key as it relates to when you think about travel and in terms of, say, going next Christmas time. It might be something where you'd have various family members come and join you. So I thought that picture is nice. And then she is from Dresden, which we don't go to Dresden, but I like this picture because, man, it's so spectacular. But the reason I show it is because Dresden, historically, it has the oldest Christmas market in Europe, does Dresden. So that picture is so beautiful that I thought I'd throw that in. And then moving on, the ships, obviously, when you get on, have holiday cheer that abounds, right? No doubt about that. From the trees and the caroling. And by the way, we leave some of the trees undecorated, so you get to decorate the trees, right, Lori? I mean, and maybe you'd like to mention a few things about what happens on the ships.
Well, the first river cruise I took was a Christmas market cruise, and we actually had Saint Nick come and visit us.
Oh, yeah.
And we had the tradition of leaving a shoe outside of our cabin, our stateroom on one night. And I was the good girl, and my roommate, well, she got the lump of coal, but they do bring a lot of the European traditions on board. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice, yeah. And again, we're European centric in the sense that our owners being from Vienna and Dresden, et cetera. And here we do, again, see pictures of some of the younger kids in terms of the fact that our ships do have the opportunity where families can come on board. Several of our newer vessels have triples and quads, meaning triple accommodations, quad accommodations, and connecting staterooms as well. So I mentioned that. And then anytime you travel, of course, the culinary opportunities and experiences as it relates to, you know, the time of year or wherever it is you might be going play in, and certainly it does here as well. So a lot of the European favorites during Christmas time you're going to enjoy on board. And the Christmas goose, the gingerbread, of course, we have that here too, but maybe the style that they bake it there in Europe. The Black Forest cake obviously is mandatory, certainly. And then the wonderful, as you can see over here in the lower right, the various grilled sausages, of which there's a lot of variety of those for you. And so that is a nice aspect to have the holiday culinary stuff happening as well, for sure. Now, this is what I mentioned at the beginning. We have this itinerary called Magical Christmas Markets. And this is where I say, join Lori. It's on the beautiful Amasonata. It's December 11th. Now that's a year from tomorrow, right? Today's the 10th. So it's a year from tomorrow. So we're 366 days out, exactly a year. And who knows what it's going to be like a year from now. But I dare say it's going to be a heck of a lot different than what it is today. And this is an itinerary that goes from Nuremberg, Germany, to Vienna, Austria, right? So I'm going to talk and show you a little bit about this particular itinerary. There's the map. Nuremberg through the Main-Danube Canal, which is kind of a cool experience. That's really what got river cruising going, was when this Main-Danube Canal opened, because it allowed people to connect from the Rhine to the Main to the Danube. You could get on a ship in Amsterdam and not get off the ship until about 2,200 miles later in the Black Sea. And that is, again, with this canal opening in 1992, it got river cruising going. Then you are in Regensburg, a beautiful medieval town, Passau, Linz, where you can go here or there, Salzburg or Český Krumlov, through to Melk, Krems, Klosterneuburg, and Vienna. So this is the itinerary going from west to east, again, a year from now. We do offer a pre-cruise of 3 nights in Prague, in the Czech Republic, right? So you can go and do a pre-cruise, which I certainly recommend, whether you do ours or something else you'd like to do. And of course, Prague has the Christmas markets as well. Prague is a really, I want to say, a time capsule architecturally, in the sense that it was very little damaged during World War II, which not a lot of European cities can say that, but Prague can. So it is stupendously beautiful. And then you'll, of course, be there at this time of year, which adds even more to the experience. I love Prague. I've spent a week there with my wife one time. Then you come to Nuremberg for your embarkation. Now, Nuremberg actually, interestingly enough, has the largest Christmas market in Europe, and it's actually acknowledged to be the largest Christmas market anywhere in the world. And this picture really doesn't do it justice, but there are about 160 some odd different, what are called stalls, if you will. And of course, Nuremberg has lots of unique history, both tied to World War II and otherwise. But this is where, again, you will begin your cruise. And then you come to a UNESCO World Heritage town, village, really, Regensburg, again in Germany. And again, this beautiful picture here. And by the way, Lori, anytime you want to weigh in, feel free to do so. Just interject at any moment. And again, you see the various opportunities to do the Christmas markets here in Passau, still in Germany. And I love this picture with the snow. Hopefully you'll have snow. I think that adds to it, the beautiful clear weather. But this town, Passau, actually has the largest pipe organ in all of Europe in a small church here. And you might, knock wood, luckily have an opportunity to hear that pipe organ. Have you been to Passau, Lori?
I have. And actually, I have not been to Nuremberg, but the reason I chose this itinerary is because it is the largest Christmas market in Germany and in Europe. So it's always been a goal of mine to go to Nuremberg and see that, and also the history of Nuremberg as well. So yeah, you can't pass that up. And for Regensburg, sure, we can't forget that that's one of the oldest operating restaurants in the world, and that's the Sausage Kitchen.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. Cool. I know I got a chapeau there. I got a hat that I have out here. I'm not wearing it now. It's not a Christmas hat, but it's kind of a cool hat. So we all like Regensburg. That is for sure. Okay. Then you come to Linz, Austria. And you can certainly choose to spend the day in and around Linz, which there's plenty to do. Nonetheless, people can also choose to head south of Linz and come here to Salzburg, of course. famous for many reasons, but obviously for most of us anyway, the sound of music, right? But also the home and birthplace of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and of course, just an iconically beautiful place in Austria. And here you can see again the opportunity to visit the Christmas markets. There's other things to do as well. And it's not as if you go on this cruise and all you do is go to Christmas markets. I mean, that is the thematic, obviously, focus of the cruise, but there are plenty of other opportunities to do other things. Now, speaking of other things, if you want to head north and go into the Czech Republic, this is another UNESCO World Heritage town, village, if you will, called Český Krumlov. And that is a chance, again, to head north out of Linz and spend the day in Český Krumlov. And they also do the Christmas markets there as well. Really cool.
Right.
Go ahead.
This is going to be the hardest decision on that cruise, is deciding between Salzburg and Český Krumlov.
That's
because
for sure.
I've done both, and even I haven't made up my mind which city I'm going to. So it's going to be a real tough decision next year.
Yes, it is. I totally agree. Having been to both, it is a tough decision. You can't go wrong either way. That's the key thing. There's no wrong decision, I would say that. Speaking of continuing a little further on down the river, you come to the town or village really of Melk. And Melk has the incredible Benedictine Abbey that is fully functional, active. There's a school there. And so you'll be able to, this isn't decorated in Christmas time. I frankly got this off the internet today, which is a verboten thing to do, but I'm kind of fudging a little. Anyway, a beautiful picture of the Melk Abbey and a must see here along this itinerary. And then ultimately you wind up here in Vienna, which is where the cruise will end. There are 20 different Christmas markets in Vienna. We do offer on this program a 2-night post-cruise opportunity in Vienna. So while you might not get to all 20, if you do the 2-night post-cruise, you'll have an opportunity to get to quite a few. This is one of the more well-known Christmas markets near the municipal building in Vienna. And Vienna is absolutely a world-class city, stunningly beautiful. And the nice thing at these Christmas markets, and Lori, hopefully you'll say you would agree, is that you're with the local townspeople, right, that are there. So you're not necessarily rubbing shoulders with lots of tourists. It's actually the local people that are with you, correct?
Yeah, so going to a Christmas market, it's not as though you're going to the local shopping mall. We're not going to Stone Ridge on a Saturday afternoon. The Christmas markets, what I love the most about these itineraries and going to the Christmas markets is the sense of community. And especially when you go to a Christmas market in the evening, what you'll find is that the office workers and the people who work in the towns, they'll come, this is where they meet after work. They will meet up, they'll enjoy a glass of Glühwein, and they'll have the kids playing and having hot cocoa. And this is where they come together and they meet as a community. So it's beyond it's beyond the Walnut Creek or the Stone Ridge shopping mall. And it's the artisans that have worked all year long to handcraft unique items you can't find anywhere else. So you're not going to see a lot of mass-produced items. You'll see things that somebody has spent all year knitting, or candles that they've made, things like that. So that's, to me, it's that sense of community that really makes this itinerary so special.
That's really good to hear. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I have heard, yes, that the things that you are able to purchase, it's not as if you're going to come back and see them at the mall back here. They are incredibly unique. And so I'm glad to hear you say that, because I have heard that anecdotally from other folks, that that's one of the things they really like too, is the unique aspects. And then of course you have that, whether it's a tree ornament, whatever it might be, then the memories, right, that you associate with that item last the rest of your life, right? So that's really kind of neat, really cool. I throw Budapest in here along with Wilshofen, Germany, just because other Danube itineraries at Christmas time, we do incorporate Budapest. We also incorporate Wilshofen as well, which this is a floating Christmas market in Wilshofen. So just mentioning those quickly in terms of, again, other itineraries, but we're focused on, as I say, Lori's itinerary. But I do want to mention, again, Prague 3 nights free. We also, if in lieu of Prague, you can go to Munich for 2 nights. So maybe you've been to Prague or you have more of an interest here in Munich, you can do that. And then instead of Budapest on Lori's itinerary, it's a 2-night post in Vienna, Austria, right?
Right.
And here are some, let me go back. Here are some of our owners' insider tips, Christine's insider tips, which is, and hopefully Lori would acknowledge too, to carry cash in local currency, right? They don't take our credit cards at all these stalls, which makes sense if they're artisans, local artisans, right?
Right. Some of them will take credit cards, but they
Okay,
really appreciate the cash because they're not paying those credit card fees.
there, makes sense, right? And then these are some of the items as to what to buy. And Lori, being with you, will help you in that regard too. And then these are some of the ships that have the staterooms available for extended family opportunities for you as well. And then real quickly, Christmas markets on the Rhine. This is another cruise that we do. This basically from Basel, Switzerland up to Amsterdam. Am I okay to talk about the Rhine too, Lori?
Absolutely.
Okay, just mention this. Main thing,
Yeah.
go with Lori because she's been there and done it. You want to go with Lori. Here, though, I'll just mention this is the other iconic river, the Rhine, of course, and again, going from south to north, it's Basel to Amsterdam, or the reverse Amsterdam down to Basel, along the Rhine and through the Alsace region here, which is very, very famous. This town, Reykjavik, Disney thought so highly of it in terms of its what it looked like, bucolic, quaint, etc., that they modeled Reykjavik, or they modeled the town, I should say, in Beauty and the Beast after the town or village of Reykjavik, right? I'm going to mention Gengenbach here in a second, then on up here through Heidelberg, the Rudesheim, Cologne, so cool itinerary. Basel is at the confluence of 3 countries, really, obviously Switzerland, but then on either side you have as well France and Germany. This is our operations headquarter in Basel, and again, literally a 10-minute walk from the ship to this Christmas market. Strasbourg is the capital of the Alsace region. By the way, besides the Christmas market shopping in the stalls, there's excellent shopping overall here in Strasbourg. The food is off the charts. Again, this is the Alsace. The people here in France or Germany on either side of the Rhine don't say they're French or German. They call themselves Alsatians, in the sense that this part of France used to be Germany, that part of Germany used to be France. It kind of traded back and forth over the centuries. A lot of UN municipal buildings are here in Strasbourg. Strasbourg is simply lovely. Now, out of Strasbourg, there is a chance to go to Gengenbach, and Gengenbach is famous for its medieval Christmas market here, but it also has the town hall here, and that turns into the world's largest Advent calendar in the windows. And there's choirs performing, small choirs singing as well. So that's kind of a cool, unique opportunity to go and to visit Gengenbach and see the experience of the world's largest Advent calendar. Heidelberg, University City, it's on the Neckar River. It's not on the Rhine. You have to travel a little ways off the Rhine to Heidelberg. Beautiful place indeed. Cologne and the Cologne Cathedral, again, a just amazing cathedral any time of year, but of course seeing here the picture at Christmas market time is simply amazing. Little World War II history. Cologne was heavily damaged during World War II, but fortunately for the cathedral, the Allied pilots used, you can't see them here, but the 2 very high spires on the church as navigational aids. As it related to their missions, and the church was pretty much left unscathed during the war. So again, a Gothic cathedral. It's also where, speaking of Christmas markets, it's where the 3 wise men, Balthazar, now I'm going to screw it up, Gaspar and Melchior, yes, the 3 wise men, their relics are buried here. Again, tying in certainly to the story of the 3 wise men and the birth of Jesus, and this is where their relics lay. Then to Amsterdam. They, in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, don't do traditional Christmas market stalls a la the Rhine and the Danube, but they get into the spirit with the Festival of Lights, right? So it's not like they're being left behind. They celebrate as well, but it turns out they do it in a different fashion. You see the canal boat here lit up. By the way, there are about 160 different canals in Amsterdam, so really kind of wonderful. And again, pre and post opportunities as far as hotel stays here as well. There's, I mentioned Amsterdam. We have a unique kind of program too with Lucerne and Zurich for 2 nights pre in either or post. And then a new one next year is 3 nights at the Hilton on Lake Como. So go rub shoulders with George and Amal Clooney. They live there part of the year, and who knows, you might run into them. That again is a new pre-post option on the Rhine. Now this is where Lori is going to bring out again the Glühwein mugs. All right, let's show those again. Let's have the a reprise of the mugs. There they are.
This is one of my favorites because it's shaped like Santa's boot. And what happens is when you go into the Christmas markets, every market designs their own mug. So I won't admit to how many mugs I actually have, but I have several. And what it is you buy a cup of Glühwein, which is their mulled wine, and then they give you the mug. And you can keep the mug, or you can exchange it for a clean one or another full one at the end of the night. And every market has a slightly different version of mulled wine, and every year they come up with a new design for their mugs. So it's kind of a neat little souvenir. I will say one thing that's not on her insider tips is bubble wrap.
Right. There you
I
go.
always give my clients bubble wrap because they're always going to bring something maybe fragile home, and it's great to pack it up in bubble wrap.
Good idea. Or it says bring extra luggage for souvenirs, and I'll say including bubble wrap.
Right.
I'll add that. Thank you. That absolutely. And then your thick soled shoes and scarf and gloves and hat. Now I will say, you know, with global warming and all that, Christina said that January and February are really the coldest months in the winter, and December has become a little less frigid. Nonetheless, you never know, so you still need to pack in a cogent way that makes sense for being there at that time of year. But thank you for the stories on certainly on the Glühwein, the mulled wine. And I have heard that yes, every little they have their own recipes and they do things a little differently. So it's not like every place you go, Jesus, it tastes the same as the last place. Yeah. It's all different. So that's cool. I like that.
They have hot chocolate for those that don't drink.
There you go. All right. Now, because today is the start of Hanukkah, I thought it appropriate to mention that we also, for our Jewish guests on board, there are places of interest to folks with Jewish heritage along the Rhine as well as the Danube, and there are certainly places to go and visit. And our staff, our cruise manager on board, will help in that regard as far as going to places of interest for, again, people of Jewish heritage. So I want to mention that. And we do have Hanukkah celebrations on board as well. So that's important to mention. Now, a quick preview. Now, the holidays on the Rhone. So for next year in 2021, we have decided to sort of talk a little bit about the fact that we are going to have these cruises during Christmas time, around Christmas time, between Lyon and Avignon, through this Rhone area, north and southbound. You can do Paris pre or post for 3 nights and Barcelona, Spain, pre and post for 3 nights. But this is the region here on a ship, the Ama Christina, named for our Christine Karst. And just to show you this picture that the ship really gets into the spirit. Hopefully you experienced that, Lori, when you were on, in terms of the Christmas carols and everybody really truly getting into the spirit of Christmas, right?
Yeah, we even had a visit from Santa Claus one night.
Good.
And,
yes.
Yeah, we did have a couple kids. There's not a lot of kids on board Ama cruises. They're obviously children 8 and above are welcome. I'm stealing your line, but but and some of the adults actually wanted to sit on Santa's lap. So I don't know how COVID is going to change that next year, but you know,
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, hopefully his big bushy beard will catch all the. No, I mean by then, who knows what it's going to be like a year from now? But I think it's going to be a lot better, So they again don't do the traditional Christmas market stalls, but they do things that definitely draw attention to the fact that it's the holidays, and they typically do them between the end of November and into mid to latter part of January. And of course, in France, obviously, a feast for all the senses, because you're in that region of France and Lyon. Of course, Lyon, I just showed you, is the gastronomic capital, not only of France, but of Europe, and some people say the world. So the food is off the hook. And here you'll be able to experience some of that Lyonnaise sausages grilling with this gentleman here. And then what's called the tradition of the 13 desserts, which are fruits and nuts and otherwise. And so figs here, And that's a French, again, tradition that we'll have you take part in, as well as, I guess, in this area, yes, I've not been there during this time of year, but the crèche displays are quite lovely, really well done, quite beautiful. So we mentioned the crèche displays as, because I mean, you see them every once in a while here, not that often, but there you're going to see quite a few of them and really well done. And of course, Avignon, very famous in the sense that this was the center of the Catholic Church. The Papal Palace was in Avignon for quite a stretch of time. Beautiful, beautiful town. Of course, a lot of Roman ruins as well, because the Romans, as we all know, got around. Again, the Paris pre or post opportunity. By the way, on the pre and post hotel opportunities with AMA Waterways, what's really cool, always top-notch hotel properties, plus the cruise manager who's with you on the cruise will be with you at the hotel. So it's kind of like having your own private concierge, quite frankly, if you will, and that's really well received. The other thing is we never cancel a hotel program because, oh, gee, not enough people signed up. I have worked for a river cruise line where if we didn't get enough people, we canceled the program. AMA never does. Even if there's only 4 or 6 people, the hotel program definitely runs. The cruise manager is there, as I mentioned. There's breakfasts in the morning. There's usually an initial tour involved as well. And then Barcelona down on the Mediterranean is included as a pre or post opportunity of 3 nights. Also on the map, you do get to visit, I showed the picture, but you do get to visit Montserrat Monastery, right, which is, again, an incredible place to visit. That's part of the Barcelona pre or post opportunity with Colors of Provence at Christmas time. And then we do New Year's cruises too, so you can ring in the New Year's with us. We do cruise into the new year, so a lot of people like the fact that they, instead maybe not doing Christmas markets, and maybe they've done it, want to do New Year's with us. And we do major celebrations on board, such that the New Year's dinner, if you were to go ashore and pay for that somewhere in one of these places in Europe, it sets you back a pretty penny, but we do it on board and we do it right. The other nice thing too is when it is New Year's Eve, here's the Amalea dock, and you're docked in town or village, whatever it might be, you can dress kind of warmly and head up here to the sun deck and enjoy the fireworks. And if it gets, you know, a little chilly or whatnot, just go back inside. Whereas the local townspeople are sort of out here shivering while you get to sit inside and drink your hot toddy and watch the fireworks. So it's a lot of fun from that standpoint. All right, now it's time to talk about what do I have to do to kind of think about making a reservation. And so we have incentives, and I will tell you, we heard on Monday of this week, we have our Monday Zoom meeting with sales and marketing, et cetera, and they kind of tell us what's going on, you know, the owners, et cetera. And one thing they did say, here we are at Christmas time this year, but they said the Christmas market cruises for next year are one of the shining stars in terms of what is really booking well. And, you know, we think, and they think, the owners think that it's, okay, people are stuck this Christmas and they're thinking, okay, we are going to do something really special for next Christmas. And so they're putting their thinking caps on along with their travel advisors, and they're saying, we're going to go do a Christmas market cruise. So we think that plays a part of it as well. And the other thing that all the news folks are saying, that anyone who wants a vaccine can be vaccinated by the 1st of June. I've heard that several times. So we'll be well into the whole protocol and whatever's happening, so that aspect. And of course, you might say, well, we require vaccinations to come on board. Well, quite frankly, it's what the airlines are going to require, because first you have to get on an airplane to come to Europe. So it'll probably be more tied to what are the airlines going to be doing in that regard. So everything is still fluid at this point, but what is not fluid is that there are tremendous reservation deals, if you will, what's called our triple savings, where you can save substantial monies up to $1,000 per person, upgrades, ship credits. Also, we really incentivize and welcome our solo travelers, such that we have a 25%, not 50, not 75, not double, but to occupy a very nice accommodation, a double occupancy accommodation as a solo traveler, only 25% additional. That is a real deal. And then we really look after our solo travelers and do a whole bunch of things for them on board. So I want to make mention of that. And of course, if you go with Lori, she's going to be looking after you too, as far as your solo traveler. So these are in place right now. Now they end the end of this month, December 31. So in another 21 days. The webinar attendee offer for tonight for you all attending. If you do reserve something again by the end of the year, it can be anything for 21 or 22, any cruise whatsoever. I'm going to give you $100 person additional savings. That's booking with Lori, reserving with Lori by the end of December. Now, a reservation is a $400 per person deposit, and then final payment is until 90 days prior. So we're not asking for a ton of money up front early. It's $400 per person, and then final payment is at 90 days prior. Now, having said that, we'll talk a little bit here momentarily about different insurance programs. There's also a fly free program in effect as well for a whole bunch of different departures, either for two of you or for the companion airfare, or you can do a business class upgrade. Again, Lori can tell you more about that. What we're finding, I'm mentioning this because this is a new offer that we just came out with last week, and I'll mention to Lori too, she may not know about this, but here's what we're seeing at AMA Waterways, and that is people are asking about booking through their advisors back to back, because when they think about going away, because they've been so hunkered down for the last 10 months, they're going to go away and say, you know what, I want to do a back-to-back cruise. So maybe it could be Lori's Christmas Market Cruise and then the one after it, you know, or the one anyway, we're offering an additional 10% on the second cruise, 10% off on that next cruise. And again, we're doing this because we're seeing a number of folks through, as I say, their travel advisors ask about longer cruises, or in other words, what's called back-to-back. So that's something to be aware of. It's an extra, as I say, 10%. And again, making a reservation by the end of December. Let's continue on. And then with Lori being part of Cruise Planners, there are a number of different departures that have prepaid gratuities, which is a nice added bonus as well. So she can tell you more about that. Now, we just finished a successful European season, and you might be saying, what is he talking about? I didn't think anybody was cruising in Europe. And you'd be right to say that. We were the only North American brand actually operating in Europe. We started July 5th and we ended the middle of November. So we had about 4.5 months of cruising the Rhine River. How did we do it? Well, the way we did it is we chartered the Ama Christina to a German tour operator, Ehoy, and they then sold it to German-speaking guests. The Germans, the Austrians, the Swiss, we had Dutch people on, Belgians. We sailed for 4.5 months. Two really important things come out of that. Successful in these two ways. One, we sailed with close to 2,000 people and not one COVID case, not one. So we can say we're lucky, okay, that's good, but luck is the residue of design. And what I mean by that is the health and safety protocols that we were able to employ, I think, came into effect and had an impact on the fact that we had no cases of COVID. That's number one. Number two is that the amount that we learned as the only North American operator on the rivers of Europe on the Rhine for 4.5 months, invaluable. It's always better to be in the game than on the sidelines. You can learn from the sidelines, but it ain't like being in the game. Totally different. So the experience that we gained, invaluable. Now, again, how much will of that be in effect a year from now? Who's to say? No one really knows. Some of it, yes, some of it, no, we don't know, right? Bottom line, though, is we had a good practice run for 4.5 months. And so that is something I wanted to mention to you as worth knowing about. If you want to know more what we did this last 4.5 months and what we will do going forward, if need be, if required, just go to amawaterways.com/travel-updates. That's the website that'll cash out more for you this whole scenario. Now, travel insurance is mandatory, absolutely mandatory, whether it's ours or another program that Lori would tell you about. Ours is good. There are other good ones as well. This is sort of the icing on the cake. This is an additional protection called Travel Waiver Plus, or what we call TWP. And this is a waiver of what? It's a waiver for you being allowed to cancel for whatever reason, literally up to 24 hours prior to the start of your trip, right up to 24 hours prior. And then the amount of penalty you would have incurred doing that, I'm canceling because of whatever, you're going to get back in a future cruise credit good for 2 years, right? So any balance is refunded based on the standard cancellation policy, but the penalty amount you'll get back in an FCC. You have to buy it up to 48 hours prior to the start of your trip. Now, down here it says limited time provision. I will tell you that on that Monday call on Zoom, we're hearing that this Travel Waiver Plus program, its shelf life, because it's been around since the spring, we're not sure how much longer we're going to offer it. Definitely this month and maybe into January. But anyway, the key is that it's there now, and it is a tremendous additional peace of mind. If you purchase it with our insurance program, it's only an additional, I think it's $80 a person. If you purchase it outside, you get a different insurance program, and you add this as your additional, again, icing on the cake, then it's $175 per person. But the bottom line is that it allows you, again, to cancel up to 24 hours prior. So I wanted to make mention of that. All right, so we're going to do a little toast, and then we'll answer your questions if you have any. So I already finished my wine. There wasn't much left in the bottle downstairs, so I don't have much here. But let's raise the glass, whatever you might have, and let's say, may love and laughter light your days and warm your heart and home. May good and faithful friends be yours wherever you may roam. May peace and plenty bless your world with joy that long endures. May all life's passing seasons bring the best to you and yours. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. I love that toast. All right. So I want to also mention that Lori, as of today, just signed up for another webinar. Granted, it's not for another, what is it, January?
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months from today. Yes. So February 10th at the exact same time, 5 to 6 p.m., we're going to have a really cool virtual wine tasting. And our special wine cruise guru lady, Liz Barrett, who oversees all of what are called our wine cruises, which that's a whole nother kettle of fish that we can talk about. But Lori is going to do a new itinerary called Essence of Burgundy and Provence, not just Provence, but both Burgundy and Provence in April of 2022. So that's how far ahead she's planning. And so we're going to do this webinar. You might put a tickler note on your calendar, February 10th at 5 p.m. And we're going to have a tasting, a virtual tasting. We're all going to get to taste wines from this region through our wine cruise guru lady, Liz Barrett, who is a certified specialist of wine. So that'll be fun to do. All right.
So the wine will actually be real, and I am going to be partnering with a local, so the wine won't be virtual. You actually will get to drink wine. So everybody gets to drink wine with us. And I'll have some more information soon, but I'm going to be partnering with a local wine shop, and we're going to try a couple wines from Burgundy and Provence to really whet your appetite, so to speak, and get you ready for that trip in April of 2022.
There you go. And actually, certainly in tasting the not virtual, but the real wines, the thing with these French varietals, since we're used to here in California, Northern California, Napa, Sonoma, we're used to very, very much fruit forward, very robust kind of wine. The French wines are much more subtle, right? And just totally old world versus new world, very, very different. So it'll be a good educational experience from Liz Barrett and potentially the wine shop as well in terms of selecting a wine. So it's going to be a bunch of fun. You won't want to miss it. All right. So now you can ask questions if you have any. Let me just see. Not any questions yet. By the way, ama, you might say, where does that word come from? It comes from amore, the Latin word to love, right? So we say ama means love. We love our guests. We love what we do. We love our travel agency partners. It's a love fest all the way around. We're always making the, the heart symbol. Anyway, so that's what ama means, if you wonder where that comes from. Okay, so this is, I'm going to say, calling for all questions. All right, we've done a very thorough job then in terms of going over everything, and we've had nice attendees. So I'll say thank you, George. Thank you to Kathleen, to Lori, of course, who's with us. Rick has joined us, Sarah, Sona, and Paul. So your support in coming out this evening, again, is greatly appreciated indeed. And we want to say from everybody at AMA Waterways, again, happy holidays. And we like to say, share the gift of travel. What kind of more cool stocking stuffer could there be really than to have a unique Christmas markets trip in the stocking stuffer to surprise family, etc., friends, whatever, for next year, to particularly to join Lori on her wonderful cruise. And good choice she made, especially starting in Nuremberg and having the opportunity to go to Prague first, which is also really, really neat, and to stay after in Vienna. So Lori, did you want to tie it up here?
Absolutely. I just want to thank everybody for attending, and you guys know how to reach me. I will follow up with everybody tomorrow, send you a link to the recording. And
Yep.
if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And again, thanks for spending your evening with us.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, everybody. So again, happy holidays, and most importantly, be well, stay well, and let's look forward. We're moving forward. Yay. Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Bye.